Hi, my name is Danny Farber. You are watching a new episode of The Film Circle. I'm here today with a handful of wonderful filmmakers here in the Hollywood region. We're going to be talking a lot about vertical dramas, as well as the AI influence in the creative space, how to break into the market, how to approach it as a writer, an editor, a producer, and a director. Hope you check out the interview and you like what you see. I think the cool thing here too is like, for verticals, like it does seem to be the best game in town, in any town. And it is the quickest way to get onto set and meet so many different creatives. I have so many people in my life that are like, even still like a little bit more like reticent to joining, like seeing what a microdrama is. And as soon as they go to set, they realize this is 30 to 40 filmmakers that had a career before verticals existed. That, you know, it's the same lights, it's the same camera setups, it's the same, you know, it's a bunch of creatives getting together to make a feature-length movie. What a great way to network. And the way that I always say to people too is like, get in for a day on whatever position, background, PA, whatever it is to get you in, grab 3 names off of the call sheet. And those 3 names off of that call sheet are going to be your 3 new jobs for the next one. And it's just one job leads to the next, which snowballs into a bit of a career. So I totally empathize with it, where that's at. You know, the interesting thing too is it kind of varies project to project, but the post side of the world in verticals and microdrama, there could be anywhere between 6 and 9 editors on one show. And so you have these like 60 to 80 episode series, and you have, you know, maybe 10 episodes go to one editor and the next 10 episodes go to the next editor. So you have a post-production supervisor, and your post-soup is so responsible in like keeping the tone consistent. But as a director, I'm often getting cuts of things where it's like, okay, whoever's doing episode 14, look at what they did in 36, because like the music in 36 is right. The music in 14 is like we're doing like a family-friendly movie versus like a horror movie. Like, what is somebody aligned with yourself here? So if you have a really strong post-production workflow and you're able to work across different timelines and you're able to keep a narrative consistent on these concise 90-second episodes, I think for big apps and independent production vendors, you're going to be a really attractive candidate, because that is something that people are looking for. It's also, you know, so much of it is like, it's media, it's content, it's deliverables. And as you're building out these vertical series either independently or you're contracted through an app, you know, it's not just the 60 to 90 episodes of a series, it's also the BTS. It's we used to call it an EPK, an electronic press kit. It's less about that because we're not doing DVD extras, but it is like on-set cast interviews. Where are the trendy TikTok-y sounds that we can have our characters interact with one another? People want to see the villains joking around with the heroes in some very like trendy TikTok-y way. And if you can get on set, and maybe that's a really valuable thing, kind of to Andre's point too, where it's like just getting in initially. What if you find your way on set, background actor, day player, PA, whatever, and within the production's like comfortability with it, you start doing some of these BTS TikToks independently. You start editing them really clean, really concise, put up the fun music, you know, shake hands, rub elbows, get the lead actors in it too. And then at the end of the day, be like, hey, thank you so much for letting me on your set today. I made a couple of these things. I think they're cool. If you guys want, maybe we can post collab together. I had a kid on this movie that I did for Real Short. It was a vertical called Breaking the Deal with the Hockey Bad Boy. And it was one of our background, because it was like a YA story. He had just moved to LA that week. And he had all day, he's filming these like crazy with his iPhone, and he's going around and he's doing like all these like intense shots. And I'm directing this big party scene. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on with this kid over here, but like during lunch, I want to ask, be like, hey, you can't really post that stuff. And he's like, oh, no, totally fine. So I go to him. He has edited with these like really quick transitions with titles and whatever, and like different stills and moments and and it looked incredible. And I was like, who are you? What is your name? Like, what are we doing here? He's like, I moved to LA this week. I want a job as BTS. I want to meet as many people as I can. I took the day playing background actor gig just to meet people. And I was like, that's awesome. That's a great way to get it. And then also you're gifting the production company and then the app and these actors and these creatives that they can then walk away and be like, oh yeah, that guy from we got to bring him back on for something else, without being asked to do so. the trick of that too, though, is like, how can you reliably deliver something that somebody isn't asking for? And I think it's quality. If you do it in like it looks a little subpar, maybe, you know, hone those skills. But it is really helpful to go to a new environment with this idea in mind of like, I'm also creative. Let me show you how I can be creative. I think digitally there's a lot in this space that extends beyond microdramas specifically. I think just the vertical TV world is like a fascinating case study of like, the Oscars are going to be hosted on YouTube in 2029. Like, we're all moving digitally. And if we're not thinking digitally, I kind of say this often to producers and to companies where, you know, as I'm developing independent dramas as well, it's meeting an audience where they're at more so than like having this idea of the darkened cinema where we're all going to gather together and collectively watch this movie. It isn't that. It's people that are out on the street, that are at the grocery store, that are at the bus stop, that are in the bathroom, that are watching these things casually. And sometimes, like when you have some of the best looking projects, often they don't perform as well as like the ones with the bad beard prosthetics and like the really overexposed stuff and like the over the top acting. And it's this accessibility to an audience to meet them where they're at as they're aimlessly scrolling, as they're just looking to decompress for a second. They're not looking for prestige TV. If they see something that looks gorgeous, they don't, mentally, you're like, well, I don't have 90 minutes to commit to this thing. I was just kind of like, I'm only trying to be on this app for like 4 or 5 minutes and then I'm gotta get back to my work. And then you trick them with, you hook them in, and it feels too that there's this threshold of like, oh, this are just like 3 people in a room that like made this thing together. This doesn't have to have a big set and big whatever. And then before you know it, you're like, well, they just like smashed a 4-piece cake on top of this girl's head. I think there's a little more involved than just 3 people in a room together. But like, it is meeting an audience where they're at and kind of tricking them into watching the movie that I find fascinating. Do you guys have, I guess this is kind of a little more open-ended, but like, a mark you'd want to make in this space for yourselves, like any changes that you'd want to see? And I think, Danny, you'd probably be a good person to start with of like, where do you see, real quick, if we take Jen Cooper as a case study, somebody who, she's warm, she's polite, she's also a fan who found a way into the space. She's created a consulting lane that includes drama award shows and reviews, and as a critic, she's manifested her own career in this space in an incredible way that like extends beyond verticals or microdramas of, hey, this is something I'm passionate about and I'm going to involve myself so deeply and entrenched so deeply. Danny, do you see like a lane for yourself in that? And if so, like what would that be?
So I love telling stories, and that's really what I want to do. So I want to take the tropes that we have, stick true to them, but then also, you know, twist them a little bit, have some fun with it. I also see the ability to create nuance within this space for the actors to have a little bit different of a performance while still, again, holding true to what the audience wants. And a good writer will be able to do that. And that's the mark I want to make, which is give them a little bit more, make the audience happy with the tropes and the, you know, drama and all of the things we have, but also, you know, be a little bit more fulfilling for the creatives and what they want to do. I
think it's a great point, and I think using that tactic of like, this is the mark that I want to make, this is the brand that you want to establish for your work as a writer, it's really easy to identify the players in the space that are going for the grounded, subtle performances. Candy Jar, Shara TV, Viglu, those are people that really appreciate more of a grounded aspect to it, less of the escapism, less of the in-your-face, high-octane drama. And I think it's the threshold of connectivity is one DM away on Instagram of saying, hey, I'm a writer, I do these things, I look at all these people that I'm already developing, here's my pitch deck, here's my outline for what this series is, does Candy Jar want this with these 2 actors? Because here's my thing and this is my style. I think that's a really good way to start, is like identify the work you want to put out there and then find the players that are doing that exactly, you know?
But it's still fun to do the campy.
I love camp, dude. I love the campy.
I love
it's
it.
fun.
So you know, I have to balance it too.
Of course,
because,
of course.
Like, if those are my favorite to watch, I can't not write some of those stories, you know?
And I wonder too, like, I have a theory, but I'm curious to open it up to the group. Like, why do you think camp works?
It's kind of like it's so bad it's good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like sour candy. It's so sour and yet you love it so much.
It's a great way of putting it, like sour candy.
I mean?
Yeah, that's great.
And so I don't. There's just something about it that I just love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any why you think camp works in this space?
I think it's just so immediate. I mean, camp is like easy to interpret when you see on screen these big actions and these big plot twists.
Yeah.
And it is fun. I mean, I think that's a core thing of the verticals. It's just fun to watch it, you know, and like you said before, it's not prestige TV. It's
right.
not, you know, it's not going to replace that, but it's something else. It's something that's accessible and immediate. You know?
I love that answer too. I mean, that's great. Camp is fun, and like camp is universally understood. I think there is like a little bit of like a really like we're gonna buy that, like that's okay.
I laugh all the time when I'm watching a vertical. And
yeah.
Some actor will have just a straight up line of like you're the, you know, just explaining what it is.
Exactly.
Like a really stretch of who this character is.
I think too on that note, like there's a specific lexicon, a vocabulary of words that is so identifiably vertical that as there are new American companies coming into the space and new players that are entering that want to quote unquote elevate, I get weary because there's a reason this became a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it is for words like you're a bitch who can't whelp her own pups. It's like, what are we talking about? But that's the fun of it. It's ear candy where you're like, oh, this is something totally different. And like, is this part translated? Is this part like AI written? Is this what am I listening to? And it almost makes you have to listen harder and get you more engaged in the story, because you're like, okay, this feels very soap operatic on a very small screen. This has to be interesting, even if the sheer fact of it's just bad. Like bad is good too, you know? That's the fun. I think the same reason that people really like, you know, Vanderpump Rules or like Love Below Deck or like 1,000 different Housewives shows. That's a lot of the similar audience right now of like microdramas where it's like, we're not here to engage philosophically. We're not here necessarily for an in-depth analysis of what the human psyche can do in the will and testament of the human spirit. It's entertainment, it's fun, it's escapism, it should be that. And I think on set when you're making it too, if you're not like genuinely having fun making these things, you're kind of doing a disservice to the audience and to the crew and the cast around you. I remember I was doing one time that ended up becoming really popular, and like the cast was incredible, the crew was great. And I could tell one of my camera operators, the line was something about the fact that she didn't understand, like how could the sperm get mistaken, and so it was a mistaken surrogacy one. And my actress was doing a beautiful performance, and she's crying, and it's so emotionally invested, and like we're all kind of like riveted with like, how are you making dialogue that feels so stilted, feel so organic? And I just see my camera operator just out of the corner of my eye just start to lose it, and I'm like, oh God, don't laugh. What do you do? He's like, what is this story? And I was like, just buy into it. It's great. This is the story. This is the fun. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but wouldn't she? And I was like, don't logic your way out of it. Like, don't. Yeah, we're not here for the logic. We're here for the drama, for the fun. You know?
There's no logic in the story.
No, yeah, like that's and like, can you do that? Can you be big and so far disconnected from reality and grounded emotionally? And then you get an audience, and you're like, well, I don't really care that the logic holes don't track. I care that this person is going through this thing, and I want to see them saved in this capacity. You know what I mean? Do you have anything that you want to see changed in the vertical space? That is truly what escapism is, right? It's like,
Exactly.
I don't want drama. I want to see other people in drama because that's interesting, but like this, I don't want this to affect me in my real life. Is there programming that you can connect with that satiates that part of the psyche, which I think is a lot of what verticals do?
Yes, and for example, like we can, I don't know, take two exes and put in one house. And
That's
see
a
how
crazy
they
story.
Fight.
It's like a fucked up Mr. Beast video, dude. That is nuts. Honestly, those are great ideas, and like I think there is so much you can mine there. Those are forever stories. You know, like Humans of New York was like a great Instagram account when it would just take people on the street and like take a still photo, and it would write this giant biography of like who this person was, and it's giving access and pulling back the curtain on humanity in a way that like we haven't seen before. And maybe there is this uncapped market potential of audiences beyond the microdrama space still in vertical TV programming that want to see more of this unscripted, the secret lives of, you know, the working person, or it kind of humanizes everybody too and meets you at a level of like, yeah, we're all kind of going through the same stuff. It's a really cool idea. As you enter a public space nowadays, you're just non-verbally consenting to being filmed. Just in society. Like as you go off, you know, there's going to be everybody here has a camera, and everybody here you can't go to the concert anymore and like just vibe out in the mosh pit without like, or John Hamm in a nightclub just vibing out, and like somebody's going to post that and put it wherever. So, you know, are public spaces ever going to become sacred again? And are we helping ourselves? Are we doing a disservice by bringing, you know, a lot of video content out into the world where like, you know, it could just be a private moment of like, hey, this is me at my job, but then everything becomes a story. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's a thought experiment to go down, I suppose.
Yeah, that's really like when I first started in the industry, I was like an assistant editor on ads.
Okay.
And it was very crucial not to get something in the shot that you don't have permission to show.
Yes.
And nowadays, you just shoot everything and
shoot it all.
Put it all on screen, and all these people we don't have permission, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And that is an interesting, because it's like everything's a billboard. I'm wearing a billboard of my production company, Pretty Awesome Productions. Like everything's is a walking advertisement, and we've kind of become really desensitized to that. And I think as you're shooting these movies too, I think the wonderful thing is like, you know, branded content in the vertical space is like it's already begun, and there's a lot that you can build off of, and how can you express brand integrity in a different way than we've seen in like 15-second ads or 30-second Super Bowl ads. It's like we now have an opportunity to have long-form narrative conversations about what this brand means to society, to culture, to their consumers, and also who are the people behind it, which I think is, as filmmakers, a really interesting way into the next phase of what microdramas or verticals can be, you know? And I think on the writing side of things too, as you're developing these stories, it's like, what is the realistic expectation to put this thing on camera with a limited budget and a very tight shooting window and likely no rehearsals? Yeah. How big a stunts, what's the big set piece that you can build that also is obtainable, but also is exciting? That's the trick, and that's the where I think writing is a really important piece of the process of like, what is the story we're trying to tell?
Though it's powerful, like I can totally imagine an actor like trying to say that and they're stumbling over the lines. So part of it is, that's why I equate it kind of to picture books, because picture books are for, you know, young children who don't have much of an attention span. You have to do this, and 50% is told in pictures. Mm-hmm. So I think like with the setting, 50% of the story is based off of where the setting is, right? So if you're going to do a banquet scene, like, can we do it like by the staircase where there's, you know, something more than just walls? Right. You know, so as a writer, I'm like, okay, how can I do this? Mm-hmm. Stay true to the trope, but put a little bit more interesting of a background and everything, so that even if you're filming at a house, you're at the outside of the house with the staircase, something along the way to keep the audience there,
visually
but also
interested in what you're doing. Yeah.
Like,
which honestly, like that's part of a writer, but I think a lot of that's on the director too. To be like, where are we putting the big banquet scene? Because I've done it where I've done, it just has banquet hall, and you're like, okay, actually it's going to be garden party, it's going to be outside, I'm going to do it at night. Like
Yeah.
all of that is like things where it's, you can read into the context of what it's written as. And I'm like, I've seen it 1,000 times. Over here at this location, there's a great, if we get there between 6 and 8 p.m., this light's gonna hit it amazing, and that, oh my God. And so the fall off is gonna be, and it's like, it's finding and identifying things that a writer can put out there. And it's almost like you kind of shoot yourself in the foot one way if you go too specific.
Right.
But also if you're too vague, you might not have a director who has thought of that idea. So yeah,
Well,
it's an interesting catch-22, I think.
Well, again, I sit there and I think to myself of like a good writer can put it in a way that would talk about a staircase, but how you say garden party, you just change it to gazebo or so, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You can write it in a way
That's true.
that particular thing can be changed and it's still fine in context.
Cool.
And that, again, I just sit there and I'm like, that's my job. Is I'm supposed to do it in a way that I trust the actors to deliver. I trust the director for a vision. And I have to give them as much as I can for them to use that. Mm-hmm. But if I make it so like black and white or so this, it doesn't leave anything up to the creatives. And I take it very seriously. I've watched hundreds and hundreds of verticals. I've done so much research and, how do I make sure I give the best possible product to people and trust them to deliver in how they see is the best way in this space?
So somebody that has watched hundreds of them, let me ask, does continuity matter at all to you?
Yes and no. Like there's some where I'm like, okay, I can forgive it. But there are others where it's like literally the same banquet scene in episode 14 and she has like a red dress, and then episode 16 she has the black dress, and then 18 she's in the red dress. That is hard.
That's a big
That's hard.
faux pas for sure.
When episode 14 the wine gets spilled all over her, and then 16 she's like the dress is all cleaned up. I can forgive that because I do not want that poor person to stay in like these freezing cold,
so the
outfits.
empathy takes over.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
From an acting perspective.
Yeah.
I'm like,
as an audience, you're almost more empathetic. I think it's similar to like how Gen Z almost doesn't want to see intimacy on screen because they're attaching the empathy to the performers.
Yeah.
And there's a different relationship to sex, I think.
It takes them out of
It takes them out of them because they think of that. And so for you, we were saying it's like, I'm okay seeing her get sit with the cold water.
Yep.
And then it's okay if she's dry in the next couple episodes because, like, I don't want her to suffer. I don't want the human actress to suffer for my enjoyment as an audience member.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really fascinating case study. I don't know that everybody would agree with it, but, like, from your perspective, that's a cool shout.
The reason why it's so much forgivable in micro drama is because when we watch a regular film, the continuity is like a line. And there's no cut in between. We just follow from the beginning to the end if we are interested. But in the microdrama situation, there are so many cuts, and then the person might not watch the next episode right away. They might go to work, do their things, and come back an hour later. So there's so many things that are kind of like forgotten and stuff, but the story is still there because they can kind of like read through it.
Yeah.
So that's why there's so many things that are forgivable. But of course, in her example, if it's so flagrant like that, we're like, okay, now it's, it doesn't make sense. But small things can be easily fixed around and stuff.
Right.
Now, the thing is, during the shooting, I don't know how you shoot, if it's in sequence or you cut it around.
Rarely is it chronological.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're shooting around, for example, in that sense, of course it can happen that you forget things and stuff. The production designer forget things and stuff. But at the end of the day, the most important, I feel like, the actor's performance, and then after that, the location and the props and stuff. But the actor's performance is the most important because they take up most of the frame. You know what I mean? And they are on screen most of the time. So I feel like the audience is gonna notice the shift in the actor's performance easier than it. For example, there's a light missing in the background
100%.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
100%,
So because they're taking so much space in the screen, and the screen is already small.
Right.
Anyway,
They're 85% of your screen is that.
Exactly.
And you raised a good question, and I'm curious, kind of from like maybe a Danny perspective, but it's like, are you watching these in one sitting, or do you come back to them?
I would say 80% of the time I do it in one sitting.
Okay.
But then whenever I rewatch, I'll like cut around to like the episodes I like the most. Banquet scenes, I mean, I just scroll through some of them.
Yeah, it's just exposition to get you through to the next slap. You're like, oh my
because
God, okay.
because when I rewatch, I don't have the same amount of time that I would. So if it was a new that I'm watching in that time allotted, I would stop at some point. But I tend to, if I only have 15 minutes, I'll go back to one that I really like, and I'll just do the episodes that I like the most, and then I'm fine. But there are some where, yeah, I don't know, like the 100 episode ones. I'm like, I cannot watch all
too long.
Those in one setting.
It's too long.
Now, some of them I really enjoy having 100 episodes because the story
You want to stay
is
in there
fleshed out.
forever, yeah.
But I can't sit there and watch because
At
that
once.
cutting 100 times, like
It's a
that
lot.
does get to be too much. Whereas if it's more seamless, it's easier to sit through 100. But that constant cut.
And I
is
wonder,
really
that's really valuable insight. And I wonder, like, what's more important to an app, to a distributor? It's like, is it keeping somebody on your app for as long as possible, or get them going through the next as many titles as possible? And I'm not, you know, is it better to do 15 45 episode stories or 300 episode stories? And as filmmakers, as editors, as directors, as, you know, producers, it's important for us to realize, like, we can juice a lot of story out of this 45 episodes. I'll be sitting with editors constantly where I'm like, yeah, I know the episode break is supposed to be here. Break this. This is 2 episodes. You can get 2 episodes out of what's happening in this conversation, because this is a rise and fall of this, and this is a rise and fall of that. And maybe there is that, like, addictive, hooky quality of, like, one more. Let me get one more 45-second episode. Let me get one more 90-second piece. And overall, the story feels conducive. But then there's the sticker shock of a new audience member who goes to the app and sees 85 episodes. I don't really have time for 85 episodes. Should we condense this down to just have it be 65 and have that live there? And it's, as a writer, I think that's something you should be cognizant of.
Yeah. And also where I put episode breaks might not be where other people see them, which
Totally.
is the other thing. So I have to sit there and I think to myself, if I were to make every single episode 45 seconds,
Yeah.
because then if you do end up making it 90, you could split it in a different place than I did.
Right.
And I think that's really critical. See, this is why if you're going to get in this space, you have to study it.
Right.
Because
Right.
every app is different. The directors are different. The actor, but the cutting of the episodes and how to get like that hook every single time, the cliffhanger every single time, depending on how it was shot, will determine how you have to split up episodes. And if you write them to be like, I can't split it, you know, until the 90-second mark, that really hinders a lot.
I've had apps where I don't know that I necessarily agree with it, where I give them my cut and the note back is, no, it has to be cut at 90 seconds. And it's like, it could be 2 minutes. It could be like the scene is building to something. Don't be beholden to this 90-second has to be the max of whatever just because we've seen it on the headlines of 1,000 different articles. That's not, it's not ubiquitous with like how it should be viewed as an audience. It's where is the drama? Can we get this thing to about 2 minutes? Yeah, for 3.5 minutes it's a little over, but like just because if it's 93 seconds, like let the thing play out for a second. Let this moment land, because like that's gonna hit an audience harder. But there are some apps where it's like, it's got to be on that thing. And you're like, all right, well, you're cutting so much good stuff for what? Or, great, give me 3 more episodes of this scene so that way we can live in this and experience the intention from the filmmakers and the performance from the actors. If it needs to be 90 seconds, let's live in, okay, and then we're already out of the scene again. It's like, why do we spend 5 hours on that day shooting that scene if you're only going to use exactly to these made up parameters? I feel the same way with like sometimes some of these rollouts, marketing campaigns, and it's like, hey, this is a deadline that we just put out there that isn't held to any standard of like everybody's expecting this thing to drop on June 2nd. It's like nobody knows it's dropping. We can either build that this thing is going to drop June 2nd, or like you give it another week in post to clean up the cut. Like you're saying it has to be June 2nd for your back-end metrics, which maybe makes sense and that's fair, but like I rather like build something that's worth rewatching and revisiting, opposed to, well, the deadline was June 2nd, so it has to come out June 2nd. It's like, we can get things quickly, but we can also make sure that they're fleshed out and quality checked. But that's my own aside, I suppose. You know? JT, I feel like I haven't heard from you in a minute.
I think really the most important part about this is really like we need to understand or like do our homework. Like what does the audience want? Like what are they looking for exactly? Because remember, we are competing with ads, other verticals, dramas, influencers, and really just, and also another thing, how are we going to be able to get returning audiences and also get more audiences to expand or to grow? And that's really I think that's the most important. Like we have to do our research more and understand like what are they watching? What's the most popular thing that's going around? Because that thing is changing on a daily basis.
Sure.
Yeah. So, and also, I mean, this is probably not important, but like from a technical perspective, because I'm a camera op, and every time I see behind the scenes, like, oh, they're rotating the camera sideways. Well, maybe in the future, like they can just rotate the lens and also the sensor so that they don't have to constantly change.
Yeah, are we gonna build cameras that are full frame or that will be able to dual shoot?
Yeah. So that's what I'm hoping to see.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
Film is a universal language.
Yeah.
I've done 5 of these in Istanbul, and I don't speak Turkish. I don't know Turkish. I've never been to the country. I don't know Eurasia at all. And so on my first project out there, I was like, oh my gosh, I assumed everybody must understand English. No. 40% of people understand 40% of English. 40% of people understand like 80% English. 20% of people don't know English at all. So at most, you're dealing with people that know like mostly English, but there's still things that just don't communicate. And for me, which is kind of similar to where you guys were, I was like, well, if I'm going to direct this project, I need to learn the language best I can in 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever I was out there for. But I learned really quickly, I just wanted the pleasantries. Good morning, how are you? That looks gorgeous, like nice job. Left, right, up, down, stop, perfect, don't move. It's those things, you know what I mean? So I would go like, you should, dur, çok güzel, teşekkürler, çok güzel. And it's just moving with positivity of like, if I know all the bad slang, it's not really helpful. What is helpful is like, that was perfect, please do that again. Or like, nerede kulaklık, like where are my headphones? Like small things like that I think the local crew could really admire that I'm trying. And I think similarly with you guys, it's like you're doing the best you can with what you got, but the thing that doesn't matter is your image. Like that's the thing, that's the only thing that matters is like, can you shoot it pretty? And it's hard because it's like the communication might not always be there, but for me, I realized it's almost a little simpler because like as a director, I'm not a DP, I don't shoot, but I can communicate with the DP. And if my DP doesn't speak English natively, I can get really specific. I don't have to be very specific. I can be like, more sad, big light, less cold, and then great. There's 1,000 things as a cinematographer you can adjust to that. And it's almost, when you get so specific, you leave out the room to let somebody else collaborate with you. And so you guys are at an interesting perspective where you're like, yeah, I have only this much that I can bring, but here's 1,000 ideas in Ukrainian. Let me show you visually what I mean. And it's just 2 seconds. And then you go and you tweak, and then you show them your thing and they're like, bam, look at that, that's great. So yeah, what do you think?
Even with the problem about the language, your skills even has to increase even better so that the language is not an issue. Trust me, people don't care much about what you say if you are very, very good at what you do.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they
100%.
don't care. They
100%.
will even try to make the bridge by trying to understand what you're saying because they need your gift, they need your skills. And I think that that's what That's what is the most important. Be the best at what you do. And for example, the people that you know who can speak will open the door for you, and they'll make sure that you are in front of the people who are going to help you to go further. So I think that's the most important. The skills going to be the first thing that people will like about you. And you're doing already a good job. I've seen some of the videos and stuff. So many asking, where is that? Because of the good quality that comes with it. And it goes back to what he was saying. Quality is key.
Yep.
If you give good quality to people, they won't care about what you're even saying and stuff. They'll try to fix, make sure that there's communication, because you bring so much to the table.
That's the universal language of film, where it's like, I don't know what aperture we should be at, but I know that we should be more compressed. I know that I really want to be in this conversation with them. And so as a DP, you might think, okay, well, so then let's get really shallow depth of field. I don't want to see any other of the world. I want to be right here with these two. This is about
Focus
that.
on them, forget the background.
Forget the background. This is about them. This is whatever. Or it's like, oh, I just feel like this is too slow. What do we? Okay, so maybe we need a little cinematic soul. We put the camera on a slider, and like this way, the monologue has a little bit more emphasis because it's in motion and whatever. It's a good DP and a good camera operator that can pick up on what a director is saying in any language, where it's like more sad. Great.
Exactly.
Yeah, where here's 1,000 things that we can do to get more sad. And that just goes back to the fact that film is a team sport.
Exactly.
It is a collaborative process, and it's about doing it all together. And that's the, I don't.
Cannot do alone.
No, nor would I want to. It's,
No more one man shows.
there are some people, and there are people that can do that, and that are like really talented, and like are social media wizards, which is great. But I think full productions. I remember back in Chicago. I'm from Chicago. I would go to small businesses to direct commercials for them. I'd go to rappers to make music videos for them. I would just try and create these productions out of nothing, because that's what you have to do when you're trying to start a career in this business. You have to make your own opportunities. You got to make your own work. You got to show somebody who doesn't know that they need video content, you need video content. And as I did that, I think a lot of the assumption initially was like, okay, so you're going to shoot and edit it. And I'd be like, I don't shoot. I also don't edit. What do I do? Fuck, what do I do? And then I realized, oh, I'm a director producer. I can bring a production together. I can bring a team together. I can go out and find a client. I can have a visual understanding of what they're looking for, and how do I translate that to somebody who can shoot and who can edit and make that happen. And I think both of those skills are valuable, and it's finding your way in, and it's understanding that like there are people that are going to be way better at shooting than you.
Yeah.
I don't want to be better than my DP at cinematography. That's I remember I was 19 on my first film set that I was directing in film school. And I step on the set and I realized I was like, oh, I don't know anything about lighting. I know that guy knows a lot more about lighting, and thank God he's my gaffer. And I want to have that feeling at every set where I'm on, where I'm like, let me bring people who are better at their jobs than I am at their jobs.
They literally went to school for it.
That literally did, you know what I mean? Like, and it's, you do enough reps and you understand pieces of it more and more and more. And I think you should always grow and adapt your skill set as a writer, as an editor, as a director, as a camera operator, so you know what the communication is when something is asked of you. But as directors, which is all of us, it's understanding what your ask is of other people. If you say, it's really great, but I need that whole wall redressed because we didn't get this one shot over here, so I need to put back up all the set decoration and all the lighting and flip my cameras, and I got to shoot one more piece of that whole wall. Okay. What does that do to your schedule? Yeah. What does that do to your actors that has to go back in that costume when they've already changed out of that costume? Yeah. And as executive producers and clients that want these things from you, it's like, what is the bigger ask here behind what you have intended? And it's knowing the full scope and footprint of production that helps make those calls really easy. Or you can push back against the client, be like, we can't get that one shot. Sorry,
the
day's over.
Day's over.
The tricky thing here now too is like, they're gonna be like, great, we're gonna AI it. And that's a bigger part of the conversation where it's like, okay, does that help the story? Is that ethically ambiguous? Do we have permission from our actors, and are we going to, is it literally just that one line? In which case, maybe it's not the worst idea, Let me get you 95% of what I can get you. We missed 5% because of X, Y, or Z, or the costumes couldn't find the right costume, so it took another 15 minutes to make something on the day, and how incredible and what amazing wizards they are of being able to fabricate something out of nothing. Let's give them a praise, but we did just lose 15 minutes looking for that thing that was lost. Can AI help us out here? Can we get that one more shot from the thing? Maybe. And is that morally dubious? I don't think so. If it's maintained, if it's in the confines of like, hey, we're making these feature-length films in 7 days and we're doing the best we can, and this is something that isn't going to be disparaging or in any way make an actor feel uncomfortable. Does it have to be a full performance shot? No. Can we get more creative of it? Can it be their back as they walk away from camera and we hear the line? Ooh, maybe that tells a different part of the story. And then it feels a little bit less of like we're stealing their likeness or we're taking away from a performance that they're building throughout an entire process. It's just to get that one piece of exposition as the sun sets. Okay, can we get that VO again? Like there's a lot of really creative ways I think we can use AI ethically. The hard part is there's no guardrails, and people can use AI for all of it. Will it become better soon? We don't know. And that is the hard part of like, I think if you're really stringent, you're like, never AI, it's kind of like the same people that were like, well, never VFX. You want to do CGI, practical effects only. And it's like, I do agree, practical effects are better, but CGI, is the way of the movies in the 21st century also. So like, it takes the charm away from it, for certainly. But if that's the quick fix and that's what this project needs, yeah, what do you think?
No, I think that you're completely on point. That's how sound came in. That's how colors came in.
These movies didn't have sound at first. You know what I mean? Like everything has a new step to it.
Either you adapt to it, either you're gonna fight against it, but you gotta make sure you are so irreplaceable that they cannot, be the film industry cannot move without you.
The tricky thing is, I just had a job this month. The whole thing went fully AI, and so I lost out on this bid that was physical production, which seemed like a standard.
Yeah.
And then I checked back in 2 days later with that lead, and the client was like, "Oh, sorry, we went fully AI." And I'm like, "All right, well that's 45 people's jobs, 55 people's jobs right there." Like, okay, what else we got for the month? You know what I mean? And like, now this is a month that I'm not working right now. I'm using this time to develop stories that I haven't had a break in a minute, and I feel really grateful for the work. But like, how do you adapt? How do you pivot within an industry that is pivoting?
Yep.
The vertical is already the pivot. Vertical was the pivot from traditional media. This is, okay, what is the next pivot? I don't know. But it's staying relevant, and it's staying educated, and it's trying things out. I think the same way that people could really attach themselves emotionally to video games will become a way that people will emotionally attach themselves to some AI in a really scary kind of, but like realistic standard of like, okay, what can we do as storytellers? What can we do as artists? What can we do as filmmakers? And what can we do as creative individuals that stays relevant and stays a part of the bigger conversation? And I think it's just developing a style that goes beyond a visual representation of what you're trying to mean. It's a feeling. I just saw Curry Barker's film Obsession last night. He's a 26-year-old TikToker, sketch comedian, turned writer, director, horror auteur. And the way that this movie makes you feel, this kid's got a voice in true storytelling. Yes, the image is gorgeous. These performances are incredible, but it's the tone that he's setting throughout all of it. That AI can replicate the visual to it. AI can replicate the sound design of it. It might be good enough to replicate the performance eventually. It's all of those things together, though, that has to be funneled through a specific vision of like, no, we need a little bit more creepy here. We need a little funny here to break the tension. We need whatever. And I'm really inspired by watching things like that, because people like that are young and new and upcoming, and in actively making great work in the AI era.
Now AI does the job of 15 people at once, and even faster. So how can we compensate that
Right.
as artists, you know what I mean? Or how can we, move around it, make sure that, we either adapt or we become so indispensable that our art stand the test of time, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's now each one of us, instead of being afraid of it, now we gotta evolve in a sense.
And like, how can you tap back into the analog spirit that I think really drew people to film in the first place? And out of this, we might see like the more creative, visionary people. Like, I think it's really cool. You guys see that there's that ad where everything looks like a video game, but it was all done practically. I was like, it's not Dolce & Gabbana, but it's like some like big brand like that, and they have like pantyhose over like these people's faces to like smush their face in a certain way, and it's shot. The whole thing looks like it's Grand Theft Auto, and then you get closer to it and you realize that's, oh my god, they have like street signs that are kind of blurry that they fabricated, and then the BTS of this commercial is so popular because it's like, oh my god, it's all analog, and it's in a response to the AI world, and it's like, that's inherently very creative. Spike Jonze, forever ago, maybe 2014, 2015, has this Apple commercial that's like part short film where the room expands and then contracts. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's so cool. So I've been Spike Jonze Apple commercial. It's with FKA Twigs, and it's like this dance piece that as you're watching it, she's interacting with these visual effects in such a practical way where you, about halfway through you're watching and you're like, this has to be real. And it was. They built this soundstage and they built this room to physically expand out and have these color lines get dragged. And it's this thing that like is a VFX trick done practically, and the magic is that it's not magic, it's real. That's the things that are like, part of a conversation 15 years later that is so rad, that I think is worth pushing ourselves as creatives. The other part of it too is like there's content everywhere. We're competing with, the dog on Instagram that has 2 million followers. Everything is content. So it's like, what is the real original creative thing? And it's just it's going to make everybody a little bit sharper and a little bit better. Hopefully. Yeah. Do I have a favorite AD or somebody that I love working with? I think I am in a really unique position where like I work with a lot of different production companies, and I work with a lot of different apps in different cities. And like, oftentimes it's my first time working with people. Which is a challenge and a blessing in its own right, which I really am thankful for. I do have people that I like to return to, DPs that I've collaborated with a number of times, ADs I've collaborated with a number of times. I think in this space, though, you'll find that people are moving around so fast. A lot of my PAs are now directing. A lot of my production managers are directing. I'll have DPs that are directing.
Oh, really?
I'll have ADs that are directing. Everybody's trying to get in the director's chair, and like, yeah, which makes me like happy, where I'm like, good, I'm glad that you get a shot at this and try it out. And if this is what you want to be doing anyways, that's great. But there's certainly people that I think I collaborate well with, and people that I don't collaborate well with. And that's the hardest part on it too. Like I know that I'm not the easiest director to AD for sometimes, because I was an AD for 6 years. I was a first AD in Chicago for over half a decade, where I did indie features and TV pilots and music videos, and I was a producer, and I understand how complicated it can be to work with a director like myself who moves without a shot list. Oftentimes on the nearly 30 of these that I've made, I don't have a shot list. It's not about the shot list in my mind. It's about the scene. It's about how are we going to cover this with the time that we have. You give me an hour by hour schedule. We talk and communicate ahead of time and say, hey, on Tuesday, give me 45 minutes to do this scene. I only really need 20 minutes to do this scene. Give me 2.5 hours to do this scene. And just make sure that I'm on the moment. You tell me we got to be done by 11:30, I'll be done by 11:29. I have like a good internal clock to it. But I understand that that's frustrating for people, because they're like, well,
Sound.
Holding for sound. So much of being a good AD is communicating with the rest of your team. And if they're only getting so much information from me as a director, it makes their job harder, and it makes it stressful on them. But if we can flow and understand, and we can kind of anticipate, like, great, 45 minutes needed for this, and here's the props we need for this, because it's all in the script, and we've talked about it in pre-production and whatever. We don't need, master shot over here with a medium close-up, get 2 or 3 cool shots. That's a slap moment, so let me get that in slow motion, and we're done with the scene. It's a lot more about, for me, it's scheduling and timing. So like, I think there's some ADs that don't like that style, that really want over communication. But sometimes if I'm only on the job for 2.5 weeks in prep, I don't have time to shot list this thing, nor is it gonna affect, like, it's gonna hinder me, I think, on the day to be really stringent to this thing. I've only ever been in this location 1 time before we start shooting it. I'll be lucky if I get there twice, between a location scout and a tech scout. The 3rd time I'm in that space is we're all shooting it together. And I don't know. I don't remember. There wasn't enough room between the bar and the island. And then so I can't really put a camera there. All right, well, now I got to have a whole new game plan. If I really lock myself into this shot list, it's going to be a lot slower versus, all right, well, let me see. Generally, I know they walk in from this door, conversation happens here, they're going to leave out that door. Let me just get a block rehearsal, let me see it on its feet. Okay, so you guys come in from over there, talk, turn around on that line and open up to this person, and then walk out that way. Great. And I look up with my DP and I go, you see where we're going? Great. Set something up. Nah, it's got to be a little bit tighter. No. Scrape over the top of the desk. That's cooler with some foreground element, and let's push in on a slider. Great. And then we're shoot it, and then we're done. And so it's like, there are some people that I think really like that style and can effectively be like, yes, let's jam, let's jazz, it's improv. It keeps things light and creative and fun, because it's not so like rinse and repeat. It's like every moment we are kind of actively thinking and critically, creatively crafting this thing, which is exhausting as you're doing a 10-day shoot and we're trying to make a feature happen. But also, it's like, for me, the best way to get creativity out of my team. So it's kind of a long roundabout way to say that, like, there are some people that I work with repeatedly. There's some people that I've done once and I probably won't work with again. But I'm never going to blame that on them. I think that's, a failure to communicate on my part as a director, because I think you have to take ownership of the wins and the losses. And like, if I'm not effectively communicating, that's never going to be anybody but me. There are some people though that I think like that style more. So it is what it is.
Do you have much say over the crew?
Depends on the team. There are some production companies, there's some crews, or there's some apps that they're like, this is your DP. There's some apps that are like, this is your production company. Sometimes I'll have an app be like, what production company do you want to work with? And then I'm hiring my own boss, which is kind of fun and complicated. And then there's some production companies that are like, hey, here's our A team and our B team and our C team. And they like want to give me their A team, but their A team knows their director, their founder, their CEO. And so then I come in as this new guy who then they're like, well, I don't know this guy as well. So then that's also creates a host of other problems. So often, sometimes if you're working with an A, B, or C team, like the B team might be great because they're less, built into how that one director that they always work with does it. And I come in with a different style and a different like energy and whatever. So it's everything's a little different, which I kind of love. I think that's like the fun of the verticals where it's like, and then like worst case scenario, 3 weeks, we're all done. We're going on to the next one. 6 weeks where it's released and you're out of the next. So it's good. Should you confirm with clients over day players? If they want to know, totally. I've been in situations where production companies don't confirm with me their day players that they're casting. And as a director, I'm like, hi, Danny, who are you? Oh, you're the bartender. Okay, great. Okay. I've more, probably out of the almost 30 that I've done, 6 or 7 have been that way of like, I know my leads and I know my supporting and everybody else, the production has taken care of it. And so like, great, I wouldn't have picked that guy for this thing. I wouldn't have picked her for this thing, but like, this is who we have in the day. Okay. And you don't want to ruffle, like, what are you going to do? At this point, they're already there. Should you confirm with clients? Often I've found that clients are less specific on that and they trust the production company or the director to like make that right thing happen. But if they want to know, for sure, it's their money. It's their project. So like, however much they want to be involved. Now, if they go through round and round and round and round in this 2-person line, I think it's important to be like, hey, let's think bigger picture. Does this matter? Is this something we should be putting this much effort on, or should we be tracking down the 95 other things we have to get done? And that oftentimes I think clients fall on the side of like, Yeah. We don't really care as long as you guys feel comfortable with who you pick. I think production companies should, let their directors know, who they have. Or it's like things switch around because the rates aren't great sometimes. And casting got a thing. Hey, night of, somebody fell through. Okay, here's somebody new. And you're just like, okay. I think that's got to be the approach to directing verticals in totality. It's like, I thought the thing was supposed to be red. Why is it yellow? It's not the mindset. The mindset is, okay, the thing is yellow now. I thought it was going to be red, but I thought it was going to be yellow, but okay, the thing is yellow now. That's the approach. That's how you got to go through a lot of these, because things move so fast, and it isn't this thing that you had a ton of time to pre-production and plan, but is that the emphasis? Is that the wrong emphasis? I've had lead actors drop out and then get picked up, the day before, and then I'm on a Zoom call at 1 a.m. being like, okay, so here's the story, here's the thing, here's what we're doing, here's blah 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 blah. All right, I'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Sorry, and it's not ideal, but it happens. That's the hard world of the non-union wild west that are verticals. It's just being really honest with people and in a polite and respectful way. But I think as a director, your whole job is to be direct. I'm also the king of I don't know. I think on a normal day of set, I say I don't know maybe 200 times a day. I don't know. Maybe it's that. Oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's that. Okay, it is. It's none of those two things. It is that thing, and it's getting to the decisiveness. It is getting to the direct of making a decision is hypercritical. But it's okay to be like, I don't know yet. Show me an idea, actor. Show me an idea, DP. Okay, production designer. What is the thing? If we didn't have months of pre-production to say that the hero prop is supposed to be red and you give me yellow, be like, I don't know that it's actually yellow. Can you make one that's red? And then they're gonna say yes or no. And then you're gonna say, okay, it really can't be yellow and I'm so sorry. Can we make this blue? Or whatever the thing has to be. Because it is following your gut, and at a certain point the movie starts to talk to you. And it tells you, hey, this thing can't be yellow. For whatever reason, yellow is dedicated to our villains, not to our good guys. And I'm so sorry. It could be something else. It doesn't have to be red specifically, but it can't be yellow. And so then it's like, okay, I know that it's not that. It is this. And it's just being incredibly direct and decisive and be like, it has to be this thing. And then, sometimes people sweat and they're like, okay, no worries. And you're like, cool. I don't mean to put pressure on you. It's a high intense, high drama situation as we're working and making these 12-hour days and these 18-page days and all these, but that's what this, you got to be committed to the right fight. And is this the right hill to die on? And sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. And my advice to any filmmaker that wants to get out there and join the space is that learning comes from living and doing. You have to make your first thing first. Nobody's gonna make it for you. Nobody's just gonna hand you the job. So go out there, build the director's reel for yourself if you don't have one already made. Go out to local businesses, let them know that you can create digital menus for their coffee shop. Go to small artists, create run and gun music videos for them. Create a body of work that says you can be part of the visual conversation. If you already have a portfolio, you already have a director's reel, you've been doing this for 20 years and you're just trying to break into the space, hound every door, to talk to every app, reach out on LinkedIn to every production company, do your work, watch the movies, go to IMDb, see who the producers are, see who the director is. It's back to the old adage of cold emailing, and you're gonna get 100 no's before that first yes. And have that first yes turn into 10 more yeses. You get on set, you get a call sheet, turn that call sheet into 10 more jobs. This has been The Vertical Circle. My name is Danny Farber, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed the conversation. Follow me on Instagram at Sir Danny Farber. You can check out all my work at sirdannyfarber.com. You can get my managers at my LinkedIn or my email, dannyfarberwork@gmail.com.